everyone, and welcome to my video for November 2024. And this one is called Metamorphosis. So I'm going to dive into a piece about the fact that we are in, I think, a collective and individual process of metamorphosis and what that means, and how I can bring in some information, some invitations here to support us to move through this metamorphosis that we're each in with as much grace and ease as possible. So before I dive in, I do want to make an announcement that I've been announcing about this for a while, but I'm almost done publishing new content for my course, The Psychology of Awakening, which is now the 2.0 version with the new content. And I've gotten through 6 out of the 7 modules that are updated with the new teaching videos, and the curriculum is really coming through in a whole new level and in a much more precise form that I'm very happy with in terms of the communication and the transmission. And so I want to invite anyone who may feel called to join the course. It's an online class. It's free to, you're free to do the class on your own. So at this point, it's the 7 modules are there with all the teaching videos. There's tutorial videos for each module. There's guided meditations. There's readings. There's worksheets and practices and things for you to do on your own. And I'm offering the course at the price that it's been through the end of the year, which is very reasonably priced for the content and the level of information that this is at a very high level. And I will be offering the course in the spring in a hybrid model where I will be charging probably a lot more, pretty significantly more than the course is now, and people can join the 7-week. It'll be a live class with the same content, but then there'll be live classes going for 7 weeks. So that'll be in the spring at a higher price, but if you want to hop in now, you can get the online course and all the content now. And then if you want to join the course in the spring, there'll be an option for anyone who's already signed up for the online class to just join in the pay a price to do the live class portion. So I will put a link in the description of this video for anyone that's interested in checking it out. And feel free to email me if you have any questions. I'm available. Okay, so let's dive in. Metamorphosis. So I believe that we are in a collective process of metamorphosis, and that each of us then individually are going through that metamorphosis in our own individual way, right? And metamorphosis, is a powerful term to represent this. It's the same thing, really. It's another version of saying transformation. But the metamorphosis, which is what the caterpillar goes through to become the butterfly, is a much more powerful and visceral representation of this process. Because it's, transformation. It's like, okay, yeah, we're changing form, right? We're transcending one form and we're coming into a new form. But metamorphosis really represents the total decomposition of the old form down to the cellular structure, and the rebirthing from the cellular structure of a new creation, something that is completely different in cellular structure from what it once was. And that really encapsulates the depth and the level of this transformation that we are in as a collective and as an individual. Now, so what does this mean, right? So this is looked at through many different lenses. There are many different layers of our experience we can look to see that this process is taking place. This is what some call the ascension process. It's an evolutionary leap. It is a powerful shift in consciousness. But really, at another level, it's really a shifting into from one state of being or one reality, one level of density to another level. So however you want to look at it, I mean, there's all the prophecies, there's all the Mayan calendar, there's the precession of the equinoxes. There are so many indicators that point to the fact that we are in a very unique time of transition, of transformation. At least there's the opportunity available to each of us, and that the earth and the planets are also going through this. In fact, there is like a scientific validation of the fact that we are moving through a part of the galaxy that has this heightened photonic energy. It's called, people call it the photon belt, but the scientific terminology is the galactic sheath. That's how I've heard it called scientifically. The point is that this isn't just like a woo-woo thing at this point. Like, there is science that is pointing to, if people are paying attention to the information, we can't rely on the mainstream sources or governments or institutions even to really tell us some of the things that are going on. Hopefully that will change as well. But there is, if we're paying attention to other alternative sources of information, of which there are many, there is a scientific understanding that the poles are shifting, the solar flares, what's going on with the sun is very unique, and that we are in the precession of the equinoxes, this 26,000-year cycle, that is something real, that we are entering into a very unique convergence of these endings of cycles and the beginning of the new, and like a reset kind of an energy. Okay, so at this point, I think many people are very tuned into that, as it's a reality. Okay, and also we are experiencing this, even if we're not kind of tuned into the spiritual shift in consciousness in terms of our own process. We can just look at the level of chaos and the extreme polarization, all of the craziness that's playing out in the world is very clear to see. It's very clear to see that there's an old paradigm that has been in place for a very long time, a sort of status quo reality on this planet that has been around really for thousands and thousands of years at some level. But even in our own lifetime, we can see that, well, depending on, how many years you've been here on the planet, but just for my lifetime, I can say it's very evident that there has been sort of a status quo reality that has been in place that is now starting to crumble, to fall apart, and that there is this awakening process. There's a shift happening, okay? That if you're watching this video, you're someone that is tuned into that, so I don't need to convince you of that. But this is what I'm talking about, is that, we are all going through this individually and collectively, and it's playing out on both levels, and they're very connected, that one to the other. And so the depth to which this shift is impacting us is really quite profound, especially for those of us that are more conscious of the process and are consciously going through this transformation within ourselves and with how we're relating to the world around us. the depth of the process is actually really profound in terms of what it's asking of us to release and let go of our old paradigm. Okay, so it's one thing that we're dealing with this in the world around us and trying to make sense of it all. But really the most important, what matters the most, is how we are experiencing this within ourselves, as ourselves. And this process, in order to move through it with more grace, requires us to let go of the old in a very, very real way and an uncomfortable way. So that's what my message is here for us today in this video, is just to bring to light how important it is that we are able to let go of the old structures. So the old identity structures really within us are the organizing principles that have oriented us to ourselves and to the world. And these are the core patterns of thinking, believing, and acting and feeling that we are required to release in order to step into the new, in order to step into new ways of thinking, being, and feeling that are different. Okay, so this is obvious, right? It's necessary to release the old in order to make room for the new. But this is much easier said than done, right? So it's worthy of just sitting with it and bringing attention to it and just calling it out. Like, yes, it is. It's very disorienting to let go of organizing principles. And I like the word template because these are templates of, like, our ego structure is a template, these different ways, these patterns and ways that we've operated in relationships. These are all organizing principles, core belief structures, identity structures. They're just like ways that we have positioned ourselves, that we just it's just kind of a status quo, right? So in order to really continue to move through this transition, this shift with grace, really it requires us to let go of the familiar. Okay, it requires us to be willing to not know and just hold more of a present-centered awareness as we go through our day than we have been used to. So it really requires us to respond consciously to life in the day-to-day, to choose consciously what we're doing and where we're putting our energy and attention. A lot of this requires us to shift our social patterns and our lifestyle, really, of how much we are engaging and how much we are disengaging. How do we really stay in balance and support ourselves optimally to change these patterns? And for a lot of people, it is really not isolating at all, but really being more discerning about who we're hanging out with, who is aligned and with ourselves as we're shifting and who is not. All these things, really require discernment and conscious choice. But what I want to emphasize here and invite is it's okay to let go. And so I can see this in myself as well, exactly. So that's why I'm speaking to it, because I know if it's happening for me, it's happening for a lot of people. And so just to presence this is nothing, brilliant or new to any of us, but just to bring us into the understanding that it's really hard to let go of the familiar because it's comfortable and it's known. Okay, the unknown is uncomfortable. And so even though, think about it like with a piece of clothing or, an object, material things that we have, right? it's the same thing. It's hard to let go. Even if it's a piece of clothing I haven't worn for 2 years, there can be a story about, oh, but what if I need that? What if I have the perfect occasion to wear that thing, right? These are attachments to the old. Okay, so we tend to cling on to what we have already and what's known, even if it is no longer in alignment with us sometimes, right? And this is exactly the energy of stagnation that can keep us in a holding pattern and can keep us from having the new thing that we really keep saying we want to actually show up in our lives, right? So truly, this is a powerful message to inspire you, inspire me, inspire us to be willing to release the old. And that things are, that with the Hopi, there's a beautiful Hopi prayer people know of, I'm sure I'm referring to, about the river, that this is that we are in, I think we are just entering into this very swift, this next year, I think, especially the next 2 years, but even just this next year, we are really stepping into the rapid waters of this shift. And it's really going to benefit us to suffer less if we are willing to let go. And there's a beautiful part of this prayer, I don't have it with me, that talks about this. You have to let go and let the river take us. Not that we aren't, grounded and present in the process, but this is a swift moving river, and it requires us to really let go and trust that what's coming is going to be so much better than what has been. And I believe that very much so. And so I want to just leave you with this and keep it simple here. To just notice, when the old patterns come up, and, just how difficult it can be to let go of relationships that have been close in the past, but they're no longer in alignment. To let go of, objects, things in your home, physical things. But the most important is really this. It's very unconscious, okay? The status quo reality, the way we've experienced the world, and the way it unconsciously has just formulated a sense of reality that is like more like fixed and stable. Like, this is the way things are. Well, that's changing. The way things are is changing in a more foundational way in the world, like the institutions and the structures and the systems that have been stable for a long time, that have been, building up into this era, the industrial age, the contemporary world as it's come to have been established in a certain form, and how we've just come to kind of take that to be how the world is. Well, that is changing, and I believe it's just going to continue to change, and that we will be served by letting go. When things around us are collapsing and crumbling away, falling away, just, it's okay. It's going to be chaotic, and it's going to be destabilizing to, for people in different ways. But this is the process. This is just what is already happening and what is going to continue to happen. I think to very, aspects of our socioeconomic political landscape that we have always kind of relied on to be kind of the way it is. And so the more we can just normalize it and just, focus on the creationary self, focus on what we are creating in our own lives, what we're creating in our communities, in our work, in our family, in our friends, and really that is, we are here to build the new reality. So we are conscious participants in this whole shift. And so at this time, I think it's, the time of the year, the fall, It's all about releasing the old. It's all about going into the darkest time of the year in the Northern Hemisphere, at least, which is where I am and where all of the people, most of the people I listen to are Northern Hemisphere. Into the darkest time of the year, into the void, into the release. And so this is the perfect time to just really let it go. And when we let go, it's amazing how it really does open. It really is like a cleansing. And just trusting the unknown. It's okay. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to be disoriented. Okay? But we don't have to go into fear. That's the key. Okay, so this is my message, and I hope that it serves you and that you can just start to notice, like, what is it like? What does this bring up for you? And notice it's really a subtle thing that where this deeper layer of existential fear can come up, right? Like, well, what does this mean? And am I going to have what I need? And what is, we don't need to know. We can just trust that we're here for it, okay? And the more we can let go, the easier this whole journey is going to be for us. Okay, so I wish you well, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.